Now let's begin the conversation. Transformation in economic systems rarely announces itself overnight. It unfolds gradually as policies align with market realities. In this context, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, said Nigeria's ongoing macroeconomic reforms anchored on tighter monetary controls, exchange rate realignment, fiscal restraint and broader stabilization efforts are beginning to show measurable effects. The IMF noted that these steps are helping to restore a degree of predictability to the economy and modestly improve medium-term prospects. I mean, Asuko, now that the IMF has said that the macroeconomic indicators are working, but tell me, what were the economic signals that made the IMF conclude, that Nigeria's macroeconomic stabilization efforts are yielding results?
Usually the IMF usually sets quantitative as well as structural benchmarks for countries. And based on what they have set, they have looked at how Nigeria has been doing in terms of revenue mobilization, as well as Forex, how we've been able to manage our Forex, and as well as other structural things, especially revenue mobilization, for instance, the new tax law. The present government, what they did was they came around and then they rejigged it in such a way that our revenue, will increase with the new tax law. So IMF will sit down and look at how is this country able to make monies outside the regular coming to IMF to come and borrow. And so they are looking internally. And also they also look at the subsidy reforms, the removal of subsidy, for instance. I know in 2024, when subsidy was removed in 2023, the government said that we are making about $7.5 billion annually, So with that, it means that the government has a lot of money to be able to do some other critical, some other things, in the government. And with that, with the removal of first subsidy, though it's, came as a very, with a lot of pains, to the government, to the people, but it was able to, give Nigeria and as well as the government enough room for them to be able to have money to do so many things. So IMF looks at all that, and then the subsidies that will come from Forex, as well as even the unification of the Forex, was also part of the things that they will look at. So they set this benchmark for countries across the world, not just in Nigeria. And then they will look at it one after the other and begin to tick them one by one. But if you look at Nigeria, we've been able to do, the present government have been able to do its own part in terms of even giving the CBN its own independence, and not always interfering with CBN, talking to CBN, you can do this, you can do that. But if with that alone, people who are outside will now look at, is this country enough, is this country even good enough for me to even go and invest? Our foreign direct portfolio or even investment has even also increased, if you look at it. So IMF looks at so many things before they will now come up with even their own projection. Remember, last year they said they are projecting Nigeria will have like 4.2%. But they are even thinking of something higher in 2026, 2027. Yes, even 2028. They are even looking at 4.6 in 2028. So it means that they are looking at Nigeria as a big country that is going to explode in terms economically in the next couple of years.
Now, the IMF increased Nigeria's 2026 growth projection from 4.2% to 4.4%. What are the reforms that IMF thinks, that they're yielding results? And also, with this that the IMF has said, can we confidently say that investor confidence in Nigeria has returned?
So, looking at the obvious, because sometimes you don't always assume that what is obvious to a lot of us is obvious to many, and some can even choose to look away. I think this is coming from the place of bold reform steps that have been taken by this current administration. It's difficult for us to discuss this and not talk about strong leadership. You know, I recall a politician, I don't know whether I should call him a politician now, though he's my former boss, you know, Ben Bruce. He said probably this is the first time Nigeria is being led by a serious businessman. You know, and I was trying to check my history books, I was trying to check again, and I realized that most of the things he said, they are true. In other words, you're dealing with an accountant, you're dealing with someone who has businesses, many conglomerates that is handling, and so therefore, this country cannot be run as just a mere welfare state or socialist state. And just before now, because I didn't even know I was coming on air, you know, just before now, I recall having this conversation in the newsroom that the harsh reality about the tax reforms is that those lovely things we see abroad and people don't give us the full picture is what we are beginning to see. A lot of people will tell you that the problem with UK is that there's hardly anything you do that is not taxed. Good, we haven't gotten to that stage, but it is about the government now letting us see that we can exist and we can survive without oil. Because we've been talking about beyond oil, and that's what IMF, World Bank, they've been projecting, that, hey, excuse me, you need to make money for yourself rather than just natural resources. How do you make money? How do you do things for yourself? And don't forget that Nigeria was almost, if not in a bankrupt state, if not in a case of insolvency, because these are things that were being hidden. We're borrowing to pay salaries, we're doing stuff. I listened to a governor reminding us that he can beat his chest that he has paid us his backlogs when it comes to pension. That's a healthy economy. You can see a lot of budgets this last December where a lot of people have tripled their budget estimate. This to tell you that there is more allocation going to them, there is more revenue coming. So we can't take away the fact that there's that realignment of the Forex, which you can plan, you can say that this is the benchmark, this is the exchange rate, not that it will change in a twinkling of an eye. You can talk about the predictability, which I mentioned. You can talk about the tax reforms, which you cannot shy away from. Then when you also talk about the subsidy removal, whether we like it or not, a lot of people have tried to take this decision, but for political considerations, many of them couldn't take it.
Kick the can down the road.
And I asked that question, that even the candidates that will come up in this election, we need to ask them that question. Stop deceiving people. Are you going to remove the subsidy if elected? That's to tell us that somebody has taken a bold step and the person should be commended. And the only thing left for us is to now wait to continue to see the dividends, which I think IMF has already told us that it is clear that these guys are headed in the right direction.
In the right direction, okay. But just in 30 seconds, can we confidently say, honestly say that with this coming from the IMF, and also the projection that from 4.2 to 4.4 in 2026, investor confidence in Nigeria's returned? Just in 30 seconds.
No, of course. You can even tell that from the stock market. You know, the stock market yielded about 106 as of today. 106 in terms of market capitalization. 106 trillion naira. Okay. So, and then if you look at even the foreign direct investment, from the first quarter was about $106 million. The third quarter of last year, it grew to about $720 million. So it means that people are really thinking, knowing that when once they bring their money into Nigeria, okay, it is profit.
All right. We have Prince calling from Ikorodu. Prince, let's talk.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Oreshegun, yes.
And the co-debaters in the studio. Honestly speaking, we have an issue on our hands, and the issue is simply that number one, we are not patient. We are very, very impatient in this country. That's one. The current government, headed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they are doing wonderfully well when it comes to revamping the economy of this country. Now they have changed the trajectory. Now they are now looking at non-mineral resources where we can make. We are making this money from granite, from palm oil, from all this cotton. We have been making this money from there, not necessarily from oil. But why must we focus on this oil? Because it's a cheaper source of revenue.
Okay.
I think we should give this government some time.
All right.
This government is doing a very wonderful job, and I believe they're on the right path. And very soon, we'll smile. We'll smile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling.